Hi there. Today I thought I would jump on and just have a little chat about mold illness. So yesterday I made a video just talking about my results after being on the carnivore diet for the last 9.5 months or so. And I was saying that things are going pretty well and that I've had a few changes that I'm quite happy with, but nowhere near as much change as a lot of people do in that amount of time on carnivore. And I've been managing kind of chronic diarrhea issue, which I've had for years, but that got worse once I was on carnivore. And so I've been off and on some plant foods and things, trying to manage that and decide, how to deal with it. It's gradually getting better. It's a lot better than it was, but I still have some issues from time to time when I'm oxalate dumping and that. So yesterday I talked a bit about my history, and I was talking about how the rooms that I used to rent for my business were really badly mold affected, and I'd forgotten about that when I went back into them after being away for 8 years. Came back to New Zealand and I set my business up again in those rooms because the rent was cheap and the landlord's easy to get on with, no lease required or anything. And it wasn't until I was in there and then I kind of remembered that they had a mold issue. So I'd been in there for 8 years prior. Now, when I was doing that video and I was talking about it, and I was thinking to myself, wonder if I've got rid of the mold in my body, because I was saying about how I'd been working on it myself. I'd been to an acupuncturist for months, weekly, to help to build my immune system back up. And I was taking MMS, which is a little bit controversial. Chlorine dioxide is what it is, and it's brilliant stuff. And I took that for, I think, about 3 months or so, and I did the mold protocol, but not for very long from memory, because I'd kind of had enough by then. And I remember when I took the bentonite clay with the MMS, it gave me really bad diarrhea. So that was one of the things that kind of put me off doing it. And that was about, I think that was in 2019 or the beginning of 2020 that I was doing that. So I still have, I still get this niggly cough off and on, and I've had no luck really losing any weight so far on carnivore. I'm down 1.5 kilos in the last 3 weeks. But that's with really concerted effort, so doing some exercise and stuff. I've still been having, I have palpitations and seemingly electrolyte issues, and feet swelling off and on, and vertigo. So vertigo has been a thing for me since 2008. It really kicked in. And it's been on and off. And so when I started on carnivore, the vertigo settled, I think, for a while. I was getting a different dizziness before carnivore, which was an everyday thing. I was getting this dizziness. It was like the vertigo, that swimmy kind of thing, which for me was always positional, and it still is. Like when I lie down or sit up, it'll kind of kick in. But I was getting a different dizziness that had settled, and I was getting this other dizziness which would just kick in anytime. I could be working on a client and next thing I'd be like feeling like I was going to pass out. That was happening before carnivore, and that has settled down and gone away completely. But the other vertigo, that swimmy kind of thing that depends on my position, that has come back again over the last probably 3 months or so, and it's been off and on since I've been on carnivore. And what happens quite often is I'll go to bed. If I haven't had it for a little while, it really takes me by surprise, because I'll go to bed and I might be lying in bed, and then I'll go to move my head or something and it just kicks in, and next thing I'm hanging onto the bed because it feels like the whole world's just turning upside down. It's settled down and it's not quite as bad as that, and I get used to it as well after a while, and so it doesn't take me quite as much by surprise. Every time I lie down, I'm kind of expecting it, waiting for it, and it'll kick in, and then it just settles again. So I'd been kind of wondering why that had come back. And then, as I said, when I was doing my video yesterday, I'm thinking, I wonder if I have really got a handle on this mold thing. So anyway, finished making my video and I sat down to watch some YouTube after it. And the first video that came up was a Nutrition with Judy video. So I watch her occasionally. And there was something, I don't know why I decided to watch it, just I asked the question and the universe answered. That's my theory. And because she was talking about something called SIRS, which I hadn't heard of. And SIRS, it turns out, is mycotoxin illness or mold illness. And so I watched her video, and she was talking about how a lot of her clients who come to her that have been on carnivore for a long time and can't get their health issues resolved have got SIRS, which stands for chronic, I've got it written down here, chronic inflammatory response syndrome, and it's caused by mold. And when I realised that's what she was talking about, I was like, oh, okay. And because I believe that things happen for a reason. And so the fact that that video came up first, and I actually jumped in and watched it when I don't normally watch a lot of Judy's videos, just kind of was maybe a bit of a clue. So I sat there and watched it, and that's got me thinking again that maybe the mold is still an issue for me. So apparently mold, the mycotoxin, some of the molds cross the blood-brain barrier, and they can cause atrophy of the brain, and they'll damage parts of the brain. So today I've been sitting and listening to a video on Paul Saladino's channel, and he's interviewing a guy named Evan, hang on, I made lots of notes, Evan Brand. And so Evan is a functional medicine practitioner as well, and he himself has had quite serious mold issues, and so this is one of his babies, I guess, and so he's quite an expert in this. And he was talking about mold and how he treats it, and the issues that it causes, and what he sees with himself and his clients. And he was like, for example, he was talking about using glutathione in a nebulizer, and he said that one of the reasons he uses it is because it crosses the blood-brain barrier and gets rid of the mold that's damaging, because it'll damage the cerebellum, I think it is, he said, in the brain, and that causes vertigo. So it's the damage from, it can be the damage from the mold that causes the vertigo. So I was just like, okay. So it's got me thinking, it's got me a little bit concerned, because over time it does cause atrophy of the brain, and that might be why sometimes when I'm doing my videos and when I'm talking to clients, there's words that I cannot think of. And I know since I've been on carnivore, my brain's working better, because I was aware that it was kind of degrading before carnivore, and so it's a lot better, and my comprehension's a lot better, my ability to concentrate a lot of the time is a lot better than what it was. But I still, there's bits that aren't right, and so that kind of might explain what's going on. So I'm kind of, I was thinking, what am I going to do? Because Judy uses something called the Shoemaker Protocol, which has been created by a guy named Dr. Shoemaker, and there's quite a few practitioners in the States. Looking here in New Zealand, I don't think there's anyone. There's no one, like when you do a search, there's no one in New Zealand that's really standing out as being a mold protocol doctor or person. So my instinct is always to try and sort things myself, generally, first anyway. I haven't got the dollars to go and see somebody probably and get all these tests done, because it's all very, very expensive, especially here in New Zealand. So what I'm thinking at the moment is that I'm just going to carry on with my carnivore diet. I am going to focus on forms of oxalate to manage my oxalate dumping that don't contain glucose or carbohydrate, and see how I go there, because Judy said that carbohydrate or glucose, sugars, will make somebody with mold illness feel better, like it'll reduce their symptoms, but it's actually triggering the body to release something else. I can't remember what it was. It was an abbreviation that is causing more problems. So she said she cringes when she sees people that start eating fruit and honey and stuff, because they're having issues still on carnivore after being on carnivore, for a fairly long period of time, because they're actually making their problem potentially worse if they do have SIRS. So so my plan is to mostly stay away from that stuff, and to just try and use forms of oxalate containing food that don't have any glucose or carbohydrate in them, or very little. One thing that I had been using was black pepper, and listening to the video today with Paul Saladino and Bevan, Paul said that black pepper, because it contains piperine, which is the reason that people take black pepper with turmeric or curcumin, is because it helps your body to absorb more of the stuff in the turmeric and the curcumin. It's because the bloody piperine in the black pepper stops your detox pathways from working properly. So therefore it's actually stopping your body from being able to get rid of some of this mold. So I'm like, oh, it's like you kind of take 2 steps forward and one step back. It's quite frustrating. Always seems like that to me. I go down so many rabbit holes and learn so much stuff, and then it's just like, oh my God. So yeah, so I'm gonna stop having the black pepper, and I don't know whether just to stick with almonds, cashews, or I don't know. I don't really want to drink black tea. If you've got any suggestions, feel free to put them down below. And yeah, avoid carbohydrates. Stay away from the grapes on my grapevine. They're just about all gone. So I will start. They won't even be there within about a week or so. I think they'll be all gone because the birds and the bees are eating those. Thinking about getting a testing kit, if I can find one, a DIY testing kit to test the house. To check and see what molds we have in here, because I know we do get mold on the windows here, especially in the winter, because our windows really run, like they just get up in the morning and they're just covered in moisture. The house itself seems quite dry, but it's the windows get really, really wet. So I don't know whether there might be mold, like that could be an issue in the house. So I will see about getting a testing kit when I can to do that, and then I'll know whether facing any issues with mold in the house, and we can try and get that sorted out if necessary. Now, once I've been on carnivore diet for a while, and if I can't get on top of these things just through with diet, then my plan is to possibly go back onto MMS. So I used MMS, as I mentioned, I used MMS prior, back around the end of 2019, beginning of 2020, and did a bit of the mold protocol. I'm not actually even sure whether I did it correctly, looking at the book, but I was on MMS for quite a while, and it made some difference with some stuff that I had going on, and helped me, like it did actually help at the time to that was one of the things I was doing while I was going for acupuncture, to help to boost my immune system and just kind of get things under control. And it definitely made a difference. And I've thought about going back to it again, but it's just the thought of the taste. If you've ever taken it, it tastes a bit like chlorine. And when you've been taking it for a while, you quite often develop almost a gag reflex to it. And there's some thought in Jim Humble's book, he talks about that, and he says that he thinks it's possibly the pathogens in your body, because you're endangering their life with the stuff, they create that reflex where you just can't even stand the smell of it, let alone put it in your mouth. And so you've just got to battle your way through that. So I'll possibly end up doing that if I need to, and also focus on some supplements. Yeah, if I need to, I'll find a practitioner that I can go to, I suppose, and try and get some help. But as I said, that gets really expensive, and I can't really do that right now. So yeah, so I just have to try and manage it myself. Evan was talking about the different supplements that he uses, which are basically, I've got notes here, that's why I'm looking down with my glasses on. So he was talking about DAO, he was talking about glutathione, using it in the nebulizer with baking soda, and also taking glutathione internally with NAC as well. And what else? and binders too. So like I've taken charcoal for years. I've used it as a way that I've managed my diarrhea, because it helps to slow down your bowel. And so sometimes I'll take 6 or 8 charcoal capsules in the morning when I around the time that I start work, just to stop it in its tracks. And so I've done that for a long time. And charcoal is a binder, and it helps to bind these mold spores in your body. So that's probably a good thing that I've been taking that. But there's a whole bunch of others. Bentonite clay is another thing that I've taken off and on over the years, probably not enough. That's a good binder. And he's also talking about apple pectin, humic acid and fulvic acid, zeolite, chlorella, and he's talking about probiotics. So some probiotics in particular are really good for reducing the mycotoxins. He said, like, there's not enough information to really know how they work, but some of them seem to be really good at lowering the numbers and the amounts, and then also using a antifungal spray up your nose, because most of the mold spores, that's how they're getting into your body most of the time, and so they can colonize in your sinuses and things. And so he was talking about a product called Argentin 23 for that, and also talking about silica. He said he uses a product that has, as a binder, and it has humic and fulvic acid, it has zeolite, and it has charcoal, and it has silica in this product. So I was going to see if I could hunt that down and find out what that is, or find something similar. It's interesting because I've actually been taking diatomaceous earth again just recently. Just kind of felt like I should for some reason, and it's been making me feel better. Like I notice a difference when I take it, and it's really high in silica. So the fact that silica binds the mold and helps to take that out of your body is probably why. So I thought that was quite interesting that I've been taking that. He also, yes, mentioned using a sauna. So that was something else I had decided I was going to do just in the last few days, is to start getting into the sauna again more regularly, try and get in there 3 days a week, because we have an infrared sauna, and I haven't been using it over the summer at all. So I have been in there twice last week, I think, and I was in this morning. So yeah, I'm going to try and do that at least 3 days a week. Yeah, and so that's kind of my plan going forward. We'll see what happens. All right, so I thank you for watching. If you've got any comments or questions, fire away below. If you enjoy this video, subscribe, like, and if you've got somebody that you think might be interested, share it with them. And I'll be back another day. I thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you again later. Bye bye.